enough he did too. I can't believe it was still the day I was looking for berries. It felt so long, like I've been here for months. An arm wrapping around my waist snapped me from my reverie. I turned my head to a smirking Christopher. Or maybe I was just joking that I was joking. I nearly jumped back and hit my dresser. A blush began to creep up my neck. Yeah, hey now. It's only been a day. Let's not get too hasty or go too fast. He chuckled and took a step closer. Diana, you should run. That was my cue. I turned and darted out of the bedroom, Christopher's laughter echoing through the halls. You can run, but you can't hide. That's not creepy at all. I decided not to go down the stairs. He could trap me down there, so I continued to run through the halls, passing room after room. I met a dead end. The only thing in front of me was a huge door. Yeah, maybe you shouldn't go in there. But he's after me. Where do I go? I asked silently. Before my wolf could answer, Christopher's laughter echoed again, but this time sounding louder and closer. Without thinking, I opened the giant door and ran in. I looked around. There was a huge window with the sunset in view. That late already? A desk with papers on it, filing cabinets, a huge wardrobe and a bookshelf. An office? Of course it is. I shook my head and got back to reality. Christopher was chasing me, and I needed to hide, fast. I ran over to the desk, hoping to fit under it, but then realization dawned on me. He would find me easily and quickly. Just before I turned around, something caught my eye on the desk, a file labelled Rouge Attacks. I got closer and began to read. Lately, there have been Rouge attacks on nearby packs and territories. Surrounding packs have been informed to be cautious and had extra wolves guarding their own perimeters and borders. Be aware that the Rouges have been in large groups lately. Also, be advised that when one comes into view, do not, under any circumstances, take it head-on. I turned the page and my eyes nearly popped out of my head. There were pictures. The label was Seen Rouges. My eyes began to scan. I knew none of these people. They were all strangers. But then my eyes stopped at a picture that made my heart nearly stop. I could recognize the brown hair and hazel eyes anywhere. But I thought he was gone. I thought he left when he caused the death of my pack. Hall. I looked at the labels below his picture. Unknown Rouge. Travel with large group. Shows multiple threats so far. Possibly a leader. Paul was alive. And he was somewhere out there, probably following the command of his mate. The rattling of a doorknob caught my attention. I quickly flipped the page back to its cover and ran to the wardrobe. Without thinking, I opened the door and dove into the darkness. I quickly shut the wardrobe doors and backed up until my back was up against the wall. I knew that if he opened the wardrobe doors, he wouldn't see me at first because I was behind suits that hung on hangers. My heart began to hammer against my chest. I really didn't want him to find me. I controlled my breathing just as I heard footsteps enter the room. Come out wherever you are. Again, not creepy at all. I suppressed a laugh. Geez, this was harder than I thought. No dip, Sherlock. I ignored Sophia's comment and continued to listen. But then, the footsteps subsided. There was no creaking or squeaking, nothing. Maybe he left? I peeked through the suits, but then realized the wardrobe door was shut. I wouldn't be able to see anything. Before I knew it, the wardrobe doors were flung open, revealing a smirking Christopher. But then his smirk quickly vanished. Oh. I thought she was in here. The suits camouflaged me perfectly. I am invincible. He was about to shut the doors until he froze. He just stood there, peering straight at me, yet he couldn't see me. Then his smirk reappeared. Is that icing I smell? Oh, dang. How good is his sense of smell? He reached his hand in, skimming my arm. I thought I was safe, until I felt the sudden shocks engulf my arm. Oh, shoot. Got ya. He reached his other hand in and grabbed me. I couldn't help but squeal with delight. He began to pull me out, a smirk still evident on his face. All I want is that icing. No, it's dead. It's poisoned. You can't have it. He pulled me out until he had me right in front of him. Then he began to laugh. That was my chance. I darted from him and tried to get to the door. Note, I tried. Oh, no you don't, he said as I felt two strong arms wrap around my waist, pulling me back. No, I playfully screeched. He threw me onto his shoulder, and started to make his way out of the room. I began to kick and screech playfully. "Let go, you evil monster," he chuckled. "You're like a kid not wanting to go to bed." "Nuh-huh." He laughed. He laughed. There is my proof. I gave up and stopped kicking. It was hopeless. He was going to eat the icing. "You're going to kill me, aren't you?" He exited the office. I began down the hall. "Now why would I do that?" I heaved a sigh. "Because you want my icing." He laughed. He laughed. "I already had some." "He did?" "Oh, right. He had some at that after-party thing." "Ooh, right. At the appointing thing." I could feel him shake his head. "USL? Well, I was on his shoulder getting a view of his butt, not able to see him shake his head but feel it." "Well, yeah. But when you ran out of the room, I simply took some from your cake." My head shot up. "He did what now?" "It's just icing," Sophia mumbled. I ignored her. "You mean to tell me you had some of my cake?" I felt him nod as I lowered my head. "You're a monster," I whispered. He turned into a door and set me down. I turned and noticed that we were in my room, but then I saw a horrifying sight. My cake was gone, and all that remained was the plate and crumbs. "Why, you ate my cake." I could sense he was smiling. "Time for bed, Diana. No sweets until tomorrow." I couldn't get over the fact that he ate my cake. "But you ate my cake." I felt his arms on my shoulders as he began to steer me to my bed. "I put some pajamas on the bed for you. Go ahead and change, then go to bed." "But my cake." He laughed. He laughed. "You might get another one in the morning." I turned to him. "Oh, cake?" He nodded as he continued to laugh. "Yes, but you have to sleep first." I took the plate off the bed and gave it to him. Then I picked up the pajamas he laid on my bed. Well, I wouldn't exactly call them pajamas. They were cargo shorts and a man's t-shirt. "These are pajamas?" I asked while turning back to him. He smiled and nodded. "Oh, now." Then he began to walk out of the room, but he stopped at the door and looked at me with a genuine smile. "Good night, Diana." I couldn't help but blush. "Why?" "I really don't know." Or, "Gee, good night." His smile got bigger. Then he turned and went out the door, closing it behind him. For I quickly brought my hands up to my face. Was I hot? Like literally burning on my face? I turned to the mirror. Even though I looked like a giant smudge, I noticed how red my face was. How did he have this effect on me? "Ah, young love," I mumbled. "Shut up, Sophia. You love him too." I turned to my bed and slipped my dress off. Then I put on the huge t-shirt and cargo shorts. Wow, they smell so much like him. I crawled into the bed and snuggled with one of the pillows. Everything smelled exactly like him, even the bed. I closed my eyes as a small smile found its way onto my lips. "Good night, Christopher." As I was falling asleep, Christopher's voice entered my head. "Good night, beautiful." Chapter 10. I woke up from light hitting my eyes. I slowly sat up with my eyes closed and stretched. For some reason, my slumber felt very comfortable. "Puppy Eric?" I mumbled. No answer. My eyes snapped. "Puppy Eric." I quickly clamped my mouth shut when I realized where I was. I was in a room with a soft bed and everything. I raised my hand to my face. So it wasn't a dream. That's good. I got out of the bed and made my way into the hallway and down the stairs. "You really thought this was a dream?" I nodded when I got to the base of the staircase. "Hey, do you know where a couch is, or a dining table, or maybe even a kitchen?" I asked while mumbling. I could feel Sophia sigh. "Forward is a kitchen, left is a living room, and right is a dining room." I nodded and went forward to the kitchen. When I entered, the first thing I noticed was an island with bar stools. I quickly made my way to one of the stools and sat down. Then I laid my head on the countertop of the island. Are you okay?" I nodded. It's so much to take in." Sophia heaved another sigh. Yeah, you found your mate yesterday, found out he was the alpha, leading to which that you are the Luna." I lifted my head and nodded. "Hey, just wondering, is there cake in here?" Sophia began laughing. "Really? You're thinking about cake when we were just talking about our mate. Gosh, you're pathetic. Hey, I'm sorry if Christopher ate my cake yesterday. He had no right to." I was interrupted by the sound of a doorbell. "Where's the door at?" "Back where we came from, beside the staircase." Oh right, I knew that. I retraced my steps until I was at the front door, then I slowly opened it. Immediately, a body slammed against mine and began squeezing the air out of me. What? Melanie. I choked. She pulled away and began smiling. But that smile soon faded away when she looked me up and down. So, she said slowly, you already moved to that stage in your relationship? She asked while crossing her arms and cocking her eyebrow. What are you talking about? She coughed and pointed at my clothing. I looked down and began blushing. I had completely forgot I was wearing Christopher's clothing. I had no pajamas, so he let me wear his clothing and… She raised her hand and began laughing. Fool it. I was just teasing you. I let out a sigh of relief. Before I knew it, she pushed me inside and marched on in. Here, she said while digging through her bag and tossing me some clothes. I held them out in front of me and observed. An orange shirt that said Camp Half-Blood, Long Island Sound. Then a pair of jeans and some flip-flops. What? I looked up at her with a questioning look. She flicked her hand at me and smiled. We, my friend, are going shopping for clothes just for you for school. I gaped at her. Shopping? Today? But I have like a week until I go to school. Wait, I said. Don't I have until next Monday to go to school? Melanie rubbed her neck. Well, I talked to Brent yesterday and it turns out he got the date wrong. It's actually this Monday, so tomorrow. Mr. Thatcher knew the correct date, but he was probably zoned out again while informing you. So, in conclusion, we only have today to get you some clothes and school supplies. Did I hear her right? Brent got the dates wrong? How did he manage to do that? So, we're going to have to shop all day because of Brent? I questioned, making sure I had all the details. Melanie nodded. Yup, pretty much, she said while popping the PP. Okay, I responded. Let me change first. She nodded, and I quickly ran up the stairs and into my room. I made sure to run quietly though because Christopher was still asleep. When I entered my room, I quickly stripped off Christopher's clothes and hurriedly slid on Melanie's. Then, I quietly ran back down the stairs to meet a waiting Melanie. You ready? She asked. I nodded, and she opened the front door. Then we began to walk down the stone path until we reached a car. And let me tell you this, it was nice. You have a car? She giggled before unlocking the car and hopping in. I followed her lead by doing the same. No, it's my parents' convertible. They let me use it from time to time, she said while giving me her bag. Hold this. I nodded, and we both buckled up. Then she started the engine, and we headed off to wherever we were going to shop. 10 minutes into the drive, and I was already bored. I was looking out the window at the trees while they zoomed by. I don't know if it was real, but I think I saw some faint movement in the bushes. It looked like rustling, but it could have easily been the breeze. Nothing to worry about. Hey, Melanie. It took a moment before she replied. Yeah? I heaved a sigh and turned towards her. Where are we shopping at? We're going to the mall 30 minutes out. They have like the best clothing items there. It's the best. Okay, I sighed as I turned back towards the side window. My head nearly hit the ceiling of the car when I shot it up. I swear I just saw a wolf staring at the car. You okay there? I nodded. Yeah, I just saw a, squirrel. Really cool. Melanie laughed. You're horrible at lying. I turned towards her with a look of mock hurt. What? What are you talking about? She laughed, then turned on the radio. Then, out of nowhere, she turned it up really loud and began singing. I had no idea what the song was though, because of the 3 years without the newest music hits from my old radio. While she continued singing, I continued to look out at the trees. I couldn't see the wolf anymore, but the idea of it staring at this car frightened me. I just hoped it was one of Christopher's scouts or a hunter's or anything a part of this pack. When the mall came into view, my eyes widened. The thing was huge. It was like an international mall. Welcome to the International Mall of the Universe. All is welcomed. Yeah, I bet there's a sign that says that. Well, we're here, Melanie said as we parked. She reached over and took the bag from my hands and exited the car just as I did. So what are we going to do first? She looked at me and showed me a toothy grin. Clothes shopping, of course. I giggled as we began walking towards the entrance. I don't know why, but this was exciting. Going shopping after 3 years of wearing the same clothes, it was refreshing. My eyes widened when we entered the mall. It was terrifyingly big, with hundreds, and I mean hundreds of stores. If the outside looked huge, the inside was 100 times bigger. Yeah, that big. Where do we start? Melanie grabbed my wrist and began pulling me toward a store called Hot Topic. I've got to take care of some business here first. I nodded, even though she couldn't see. I wonder what business she has there. Or, Sophia said. Yeah, I thought. Me too. When we reached the doorway to the store, Melanie stopped right in front of a girl who was playing on a phone and was leaning on a window that had Hot Topic engraved on it. The girl was about my height, with hazel eyes and auburn hair with purple highlights underneath. She wore ripped jeans, combat boots, and a purple hoodie that had SPQR on it, along with a reef circling it. Hey, Roman, Melanie shouted at the girl. She looked up and gave a wicked smile at Melanie before replying. Hello, Greek. Then she pushed herself up off of the window and walked the rest of the way towards us. So, she said while observing Melanie, I'm guessing I won the bet. Bet? What bet? Actually, no, I won the bet. The girl cocked her eyebrow. Really, prove it. Melanie nodded her head and pulled out her cell phone. The she began flipping through her pictures until she landed on one of her. Actually, it was a picture of her from yesterday. She was wearing the same exact clothes and everything. She showed it to the girl, which caused her to mumble under her breath. Great, the girl said. Well, you wore purple, so I lost. Did you bring the shirt? Melanie nodded and began digging through her bag. A moment later, she pulled out another Camp Half-Blood, Long Island Sound t-shirt that was identical to mine. She then tossed it to the girl who had slicked off her SPQR hoodie. The girl then hurriedly put the orange shirt on, then slipped her hoodie back on. Hey, Melanie exclaimed. The girl shrugged. What? I lost the bet, so I'm wearing the shirt. Melanie shook her head. That's not the point. The bet said that if I won, you'd have to wear an orange Camp Half-Blood shirt so that people know you lost to Greeks. Yeah, well that's not my problem. The two continued to bicker, leaving me out of the conversation. I wonder if they forgot I was still here. Most likely. A cold chill went down my back, causing Sophia to freak out. What was that? I shook my head and turned around. I don't know. I scanned the crowds of people walking around, checking out the stores. But no one seemed suspicious. It must have been nothing. Yeah, but I haven't felt something like that since. I felt someone tap my shoulder, so I quickly turned to a smiling Melanie and the girl, who was now just wearing the orange shirt, that was now narrowing her eyes at me. Oh, hi? The girl ignored me. So I hear that you're Melanie's new Greek recruit. You got the shirt to prove it. I nodded. Yeah, sure. She began to circle around me, like she was taking in every detail. I eat Greeks like you for breakfast. My eyes widened. Yes? She's going to eat me? A couple seconds later, the girl began to crack up. Then she held out her hand. I'm Kate Shillings, the Roman. I work here at Hot Topic, and don't worry, I'm a part of the pack, too. I shook her hand hesitantly. I'm Diana Jones, the new Greek recruit. She laughed and was joined by Melanie. Yes, Melanie said while pointing at me. You're the recruit. My recruit. We all laughed until Kate brought up shopping. So, you need clothes and supplies for school? I nodded. Yeah, but how do you? Melanie told me. Of course. Why am I so stupid? All right, Melanie exclaimed. Let's get shopping. I don't know why, but we all cheered like little kids when Melanie said that. And then people started giving us looks like we were weirdos. We all linked arms, like the weirdos we were, and began marching to a store called Macy's. 9 hours. 9 hours from trying on clothes, buying things, and having one snack break. And boy was I exhausted. It felt like someone took a bulldozer and ran over my feet 1,000 times. After we were done shopping, we said our goodbyes to Kate and hopped into Melanie's car. But before Kate left, she promised that tomorrow she'd hang out with us at school and show me around a bit with Melanie. How you feeling? I sighed, exhausted. Was that worth 20 bags of clothing? She laughed and tapped on the steering wheel as she drove. Of course. You got like a whole closet filled with designer clothes now. I giggled. Wait, how am I supposed to pay you back? Don't worry about it. I'll have Christopher pay me, she said while shaking her head. Then she reached over towards the radio and flipped it on. Music started blaring and she began to sing with it, but I didn't. No, I laid my head back and closed my eyes, drifting into a peaceful sleep. Diana, wake up. My eyes fluttered open to see a smiling Melanie. She laughed. We're here. You go on inside. I'll go ahead and get all the bags. Thanks, I said tiredly while nodding my head. Late. What time is it? She checked her phone. 8:37 p.m. I sat up quickly. Didn't we leave at around 10 a.m? She nodded. Oh, yuppers. So we've been gone for a total of, wait for it, 10 hours. I thought 9 hours. She laughed. Yeah, well, you were asleep, and I didn't want to wake you. So I made a pit stop and got a slushie. I laughed and got out of the car at the same time Melanie did. Then she popped open the trunk and started lifting bags as I began to trudge my way up his stone path to the front door. Every step I took ached. It felt like needles kept pricking the soles of my feet. When I reached the door, I was about to knock. Keyword, about. Before I could even lay my hand on the door's surface, it flung open and a muscular body slammed against mine and began to embrace me. What? Christopher's masculine voice whispered in my ear. Where were you? You had me worried. Worried? Someone was actually worried about me. I hugged him back. Sorry. I was shopping with Melanie. It turns out Brent got the dates wrong and I have school tomorrow and… Shh, just please don't worry me like that again. I nodded. Don't worry. I promise I won't ever again. Chapter 11. By 9:05, Melanie had managed to bring in all of the bags from the car and haul them up to my room, after I showed her where it was, of course. But Christopher, he'd just follow me everywhere like a lost puppy. When I was shoving all the clothes into the dresser and wardrobe, he volunteered and said, Here, don't strain yourself. Go ahead and get some rest. Well, I couldn't get some rest. I had to take a shower first. So I quickly took some new pajamas, undergarments, shampoo, conditioner, body wash, and a toothbrush. When I entered the bathroom, I made sure that Christopher hadn't followed me again. Well, he didn't, which was good because it meant he could finish putting away my clothes. I shut the door and quickly stripped. Then I turned the shower on and in all had a blissful cleansing. Afterwards, I brushed my teeth, brushed my hair, got into my new clothes and exited the bathroom. But no, it didn't end there with Christopher. He was outside, leaning against his bedroom door waiting for me. Ah, Christopher. I stuttered. What are you doing? He gave me a small smile. Nothing. I was just waiting for you. I smiled and began walking to my room with, of course, Christopher following. When I entered the room, I jumped on my bed and began snuggling with a pillow. Ugh, I'm so exhausted. Christopher chuckled. Well, you did go shopping. And you went with Melanie. That will wipe you out. Yeah, but it's all Brent's fault. He just had to screw up the schedule. I sighed. Christopher laughed, then flicked off the lights of the bedroom. How about you get some sleep? We've got school tomorrow. I nodded and got beneath the covers while still cuddling with the pillow. But that's not when Christopher's act of kindness ended. A moment after the lights flipped off, I heard my bed squeaking on the side where my back was facing. Then, Christopher's muscular arms wrapped around my waist. See, Christopher, I stammered while a blush crept up my neck. My heartbeat began to pick up, while the sensation of the shocks engulfed me. Luckily, he couldn't see my blush because of the darkness. Yeah? I tried to calm down the beating of my heart, but it was no use. W, what are you doing? A, aren't you going to sleep in your own room? I felt his warm breath fan my neck. You were gone all day. You had me worried. I want to spend time with you. B, but… He began snuggling up to me, warming my whole body and making a smile appear on my lips. Just get some sleep, Diana. You have a long day tomorrow. My smile got bigger as I turned to where I was facing him. The moonlight reflected off his eyes, making them look like they were glowing. I could barely see, but he was smiling. Okay, I finally said, but you have to get some sleep too. A chuckle escaped his lips. Don't worry, I will. I have a test tomorrow anyways. I giggled and snuggled up to his chest, taking in his warmth and his scent. His arms pulled me impossibly closer. Good night, I whispered. Good night, beautiful. My eyes fluttered open to the sound of grunting. Now, I don't know what you see when you wake up, but I saw the most attractive sight. Christopher putting a shirt on. He had already had some ripped jeans on, thank goodness. I wouldn't be able to handle that much, and was currently struggling to put a t-shirt on. I couldn't help but let a blush creep up my neck. His muscles were flexing, mesmerizing me. Snap out of it. Shut up, I whispered, screamed. What? Christopher looked at me, and a smile appeared on his face. I didn't know you were up. Late. He knelt down, dropping his t-shirt, until his head was at the height of mine. Then he poked my forehead with a smirk evident on his face. Did you enjoy the view? I quickly sat up and slapped his arm. I don't know what you're talking about. He laughed and picked up his shirt. Then he easily slipped it on without the flexing of muscles. Wait, what? I jumped off the bed and slapped him again. Were you struggling and flexing your muscles on purpose? He smirked and put his hand around my waist, causing me to blush. Maybe. Wow, the effect he has on me. We've got to get ready for school, Diana. I nodded and began pushing Christopher towards the door. Hey now, what are you doing? I stopped pushing until he was completely out the door. I gotta get dressed, so you have to wait out here. Unless you want to see me change. A smirk appeared on his face, so I quickly shut the door and locked it. Through the door I could hear him laugh, and I couldn't help but giggle. I quickly shook my head and ran to my wardrobe. When I opened it, piles and piles of bags filled with clothes and other things fell out. Really, Christopher? Really? You couldn't have put them away properly. I shook my head with disbelief and began digging through the bags. I pulled out a nice, baby blue, modern 80s-style dress along with flax. Then I went through the bag with school supplies and pulled out a huge binder, scissors, pencils, paper, and last but not least, a panda plushie backpack. The thing was so cute. Its mouth unzipped so that you could slide the school supplies in it. It was basically a giant stuffed bear strapped to my back with secret pockets. I smiled and quickly slid on the dress and slipped my feet into the flats. Then I shoved my things into the panda's mouth and slung it onto my shoulders. You ready? We're gonna be late. I laughed and opened the door. Then I ran into the hallway until I entered the bathroom. I quickly brushed my hair and teeth. Then I ran back to Christopher, who had a look of confusion on his face. Why? Why are you dressed so adorable? You remind me of a little girl. I gave him a toothy grin. What? It's a cute outfit. Look at my backpack. I swirled, making my dress swirl like a princess's would. When I was facing Christopher again, he was shaking his head with a smile that indicated he was about to laugh. Gosh, Diana, you're so adorable, he said while poking my cheek. Now let's hurry or we'll be late. I nodded and we quickly stampeded through the hall and down the steps. Then, Christopher threw open the door and quickly made his way to his car, with me in pursuit. Now his car was nice, but nicer than Melanie's. It was a black Corvette with a hood that could obviously be lowered. Why, your car, it's so cool. Christopher laughed and unlocked it. I quickly got into the passenger seat with Christopher doing the same. Thank you, Melody. Now, where to? I placed my hand onto my chin and acted like I was thinking. Well, good squire, I'd like to go to your school. He laughed and started the car. Then he stepped on the gas and accelerated. I was on my way to school for the first time in 3 years. My mouth literally hit the ground when we arrived at the school. The thing was as big as the mall. Yeah, that big. I was so nervous a lump formed in my throat. Christopher had parked the car and we were currently walking to the entrance. Christopher nudged me. You okay? You seem stressed. I swallowed and nodded. Then I began looking around. Students were everywhere. Girls were in groups, wearing designer clothes and forming cliques. The guys were huddled in groups wearing sports clothes and kept glancing at girls who would pass them. Yeah, I'm fine. Just a quick question. Everyone here are wolves, right? He laughed. Yeah, most humans haven't heard of this place. So if they ever drive by, they usually just ignore the town and forget about it. And humans have never lived here, ever. I nodded. So no humans, no normal people. Just wolves. Sup? I looked to my right and saw a blonde, muscular guy with a smirk evident on his face. He had stormy grey eyes and was handsome, but not as good-looking as Christopher. Oh, hi. To my left, a growl erupted from Christopher. It echoed through the parking lot and grabbed everyone's attention. In other words, everyone was staring at us. What do you want, Alfred? Christopher snapped. The blondie, well, Alfred let loose a chuckle. Oh, nothing. I just wanted to meet this lovely lady, he said while smiling at me. She seems nice. His eyes skimmed my outfit, and I immediately felt violated. I don't like this guy, Sophia stated. Yeah, I thought. Neither do I. I latched onto Christopher's arm. I don't know why, but he was shaking and felt tense. Thanks, but You're pretty adorable with that bag, Alfred said. And really cute. You should hang out with me and my friends. We could. That's enough. Back off, Christopher snapped. I looked up at him and just realized it. His eyes were turning black. His wolf was taking over. If you keep trying to flirt with her, I swear. Christopher, I whimpered as I held tighter to his arm. Please calm down. Growls began to erupt from his chest and he started to shake violently. He was trying to hold his wolf back. Alfred just laughed. Okay, fine. I'll see you around, cutie. From the sound of